The Alpha Lord marked me under the moonlight. The forest breathes with ancient secrets tonight. Mist curls through silver birch trees like forgotten prayers, and somewhere in the distance, wolves sing to a moon so full it seems to hold all the world's longing in its luminous face. This is where destinies collide, where the impossible becomes inevitable, where a heart learns that love is not gentle. It is fierce, unrelenting, and worth every scar it leaves behind. She runs through the darkness, barefoot, her white dress torn at the hem, catching on thorns that draw small rivers of blood down her ankles. Her name is Elena, and she is running from everything she has ever known. Behind her, the village burns with accusations and fear. Witch, they called her, cursed, different, because she sees things others cannot. Because the moon speaks to her in dreams, because she has always belonged to something larger than their small, frightened world. The villagers had gathered at dusk, their torches painting orange shadows across fearful faces. They dragged her from her cottage, the one her grandmother left her, the one filled with dried herbs and painted canvases that showed futures yet to unfold. They called her Visions the Devil's Work. They said her paintings were proof of dark magic. When old Marcus, the blacksmith's wife, died exactly as Elena had painted it 3 days prior, the village made their decision. Burn the witch. Cleanse the evil. But Elena's grandmother had taught her one thing before she passed: survive. So when they bound her hands and led her to the pyre, when the priest began his incantations and the crowd chanted for her death, Elena closed her eyes and whispered to the moon. The ropes binding her wrists suddenly frayed and snapped. A wind rose from nowhere, scattering the torches, plunging the square into darkness. And Elena ran. Her breath comes in ragged gasps now, steam rising in the cold October air. She doesn't know where she's going, only that she must keep moving. The forest grows denser, darker, and she stumbles over roots that seem to reach up like fingers. When she falls, her palms press into earth that thrums with energy, as if the ground itself has a heartbeat. Blood from her ankles seeps into the soil, and for a moment, she swears she hears the earth whisper her name. That's when she feels it. The weight of being watched. Not with malice, but with an intensity that makes her skin prickle with awareness. She looks up, her dark hair wild around her face, tangled with leaves and twigs, and there he stands in the clearing ahead. He is impossibly tall, dressed in black that seems woven from shadows themselves. His eyes catch the moonlight and reflect it back like molten amber wolf eyes, predator eyes, but somehow achingly human in their sadness. His presence fills the space around him, commanding without words. This is no ordinary man. This is something ancient and powerful, something that should exist only in the stories grandmothers whisper to keep children from wandering too far into the woods. His face is carved from harsh angles and hard lines, a jaw that could cut glass, lips pressed into a thin line of concern. Silver threads through his dark hair at the temples, not from age, but from the weight of centuries carried in silence. You're bleeding, he says, and his voice is low, resonant, like distant thunder promising a storm. It rolls through the clearing and settles in Elena's chest, vibrating against her ribs. Elena scrambles backward, her hand finding a fallen branch. The wood is rough against her palm, still damp from recent rain. Stay back. Her voice shakes, but there's steel underneath the fear. She has faced death tonight. She will not cower now. A ghost of a smile touches his lips, but it doesn't reach those amber eyes. They remain watchful, cautious, as if he's afraid she might vanish like smoke. If I wanted to hurt you, little one, you would never have heard me coming. His head tilts slightly, studying her with an intensity that makes her feel simultaneously exposed and seen. Truly seen, perhaps for the first time in her life. Who are you? Her voice trembles, but she forces herself to meet his gaze. Her grandmother taught her that to never look away first. It shows weakness. They call me Kale. I am the alpha of these territories, the last of the old bloodline. He takes a step closer, and she sees the way moonlight seems to cling to him, illuminating the sharp planes of his face, the silver that threads through his dark hair at the temples. And you are the one I've been waiting for? His voice drops on those last words, becoming almost reverent, almost afraid. I don't understand. Elena's grip on the branch loosens slightly. There's something in his tone, in the way he looks at her, that doesn't speak of danger. It speaks of recognition, of longing, of a loneliness so deep it has its own gravity. You will. He extends his hand, palm up, an offering, not a demand. His hand is large, scarred across the knuckles, the hand of a warrior and a worker. But first, let me tend your wounds. The forest is not kind to those who run without direction. And neither are the things that hunt in darkness. Something in Elena's chest loosens. Perhaps it's exhaustion. Perhaps it's the strange certainty that this man, this creature, will not harm her. Or perhaps it's simply that she has nowhere else to go. She looks at his offered hand, then at his face, searching for deception and finding only patience. Slowly, she reaches out. The branch falls forgotten to the forest floor. The moment their skin touches, electricity arcs between them. Not painful, but startling, like touching lightning made solid. She gasps. He closes his eyes as if in pain, his fingers tightening around hers for just a moment before he steadies himself. When he opens his eyes again, they're glowing slightly, more wolf than man. What was that? She whispers, her heart hammering against her ribs. Recognition, he murmurs, his voice rough with emotion he's clearly trying to control. His thumb brushes across her knuckles, leaving trails of warmth. The bond, beginning to form. Come, we don't have much time. The hunters from your village will track you here by dawn. He leads her deeper into the forest, still holding her hand as if afraid she might disappear. Elena follows, partly because she has no choice, partly because something ancient in her bones tells her this is right. This is where she's meant to be. The trees grow closer together here, their branches forming a canopy so thick that moonlight filters through in silver streams. The air smells of pine and earth and something wild, something that makes her blood sing. His home is not what she expected. Carved into the side of a moss-covered hillside, hidden behind a waterfall that catches moonlight like liquid diamonds, it's both primitive and elegant. The entrance is obscured by hanging vines and clever shadows, invisible unless you know where to look. Inside, stone walls are covered in tapestries that tell stories in thread and dye battles and celebrations. Wolves running beneath full moons, a history woven in fiber and memory. A fire burns in a hearth that seems older than memory, its smoke drawn up through a natural chimney in the rock. Furs and books are scattered in comfortable chaos across hand-carved furniture. Shelves line the walls, filled with volumes and languages Elena recognizes and many she doesn't. There are weapons, two swords and bows and knives that gleam with deadly purpose. But there are also gentler things. Pressed flowers between glass, small wooden carvings of forest animals, a half-finished chess game on a small table. Sit, Kale instructs, gesturing to a chair near the fire. Let me see to your injuries. Elena sinks into the chair, suddenly aware of how exhausted she is. Her legs tremble, her feet throb. Kale kneels before her with a basin of water and clean cloths. His movements are efficient but gentle as he cleans the blood from her ankles, his large hands surprisingly tender. She watches him work, noting the way his jaw clenches when he sees the deeper cuts, the way his fingers shake slightly when they touch her skin. Why do you live alone? Elena asks, watching him work. Her voice is quiet in the stone chamber, almost swallowed by the crackle of fire. Kale's jaw tightens. I'm not alone. I have my pack. They live in the valley beyond the ridge. But I keep my distance. He focuses on wrapping a bandage around her ankle, his touch careful, almost reverent. Why? She needs to understand this man who affects her so deeply with just a touch, because I am dangerous. He meets her eyes, and in them she sees centuries of loneliness, of burden, of a curse he carries like stones in his pockets. Because everyone I've ever loved, I've lost. Because the Alpha bloodline comes with a price, and I've paid it over and over until I learned to stop caring. His voice is hollow, each word carefully controlled. It's easier to stay away, easier to protect them from me, to protect myself from more loss. I don't believe that, Elena says softly. If you didn't care, you wouldn't have helped me. You would have let the forest take me. Or worse. He stands abruptly, turning away, his shoulders rigid beneath the black fabric of his shirt. You should rest. Tomorrow, I'll help you find safe passage to the next territory. There are villages to the north that don't burn women for seeing the future. I don't want to leave. The words surprise her as much as they surprise him. She sees his shoulders tense, sees his hands clench into fists at his sides. You don't know what you're saying. His voice is strained, as if he's fighting something internal, some great force that threatens to overwhelm his control. Maybe not, but I know what I feel. She stands, ignoring the protest from her injured feet, and crosses to him. Her bare feet are silent on the stone floor. When you touched me, I felt connected, like I'd been searching for something my whole life and suddenly found it. Like every path I've ever walked was leading me here, to you, to this moment. Kale's hands clench at his sides. She can see the tendons standing out in his forearms, the way his whole body vibrates with tension. That's the bond talking, the mark trying to form. It's not real. It's biology, instinct, ancient magic. It's not choice. Then why are you trembling? Elena steps closer, close enough to see the pulse hammering in his throat, to feel the heat radiating from his skin like a furnace. Why do you look at me like I'm both your salvation and your destruction? Why do your hands shake when you touch me? Because you are. His voice breaks on the words, and suddenly he turns, grabbing her shoulders, his amber eyes blazing. The prophecy says the last Alpha will find his mate under the full moon, and she will either save his soul or destroy his world. I've lived 300 years, Elena. I've watched empires rise and fall. I've seen the Black Death sweep across Europe. I've watched the Industrial Revolution turn forests to factories. I've seen love turn to ash more times than I can count. I will not let you in, only to lose you like all the others. If this moment touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. It helps us create more stories like this one. Tears stream down Elena's face, but she doesn't look away from those amber eyes. Maybe loss is the price of love. Maybe it's worth it. Did you ever think of that? That maybe 5 years of happiness is worth a lifetime of grief? That maybe love isn't about forever, it's about right now? Every day for 3 centuries. He lifts his hand, almost touching her cheek, his fingers hovering just above her skin. She can feel the warmth of his palm, can see the war raging behind his eyes. Then he drops his hand as if she burned him. Go to sleep, Elena, please, before I do something we'll both regret. She wants to argue, wants to push, but she sees the genuine pain in his eyes, the fear. So she nods and lets him lead her to a small alcove carved into the stone, furnished with soft furs and pillows. But not before she sees him walk out into the moonlight, his body shaking with the effort of holding back the transformation, holding back the truth that howls inside him like a caged beast. Through the window, a natural opening in the rock, she watches him strip off his shirt and step into the moonlight. His body is a map of scars, some that look like claw marks, others like blade wounds, still others like burns. He tilts his head back, and she sees his spine arch, sees his body beginning to shift, bones crack and reform. His skin ripples, and then a massive black wolf stands where the man was, its fur touched with silver, its amber eyes still achingly human. The wolf throws back its head and howls, a sound so full of loneliness and longing that Elena feels it in her soul. She presses her hand to the stone wall and whispers into the darkness, "I'm not going anywhere." Days blur into weeks. Elena stays, though Cale never asks her to. At first, he tries to maintain distance, tries to pretend the bond between them isn't growing stronger with each passing day. But it's impossible. They're drawn to each other like magnets, like tides to the moon, like flames to oxygen. She learns the rhythms of his world, the way the pack communicates through howls that carry messages across mountains, each wolf's voice distinct and recognizable. In the early morning, she hears the sentry's call, alerting the alpha that all is well. At noon, the hunters sing of successful catches. At dusk, the pack comes together in a chorus that speaks of family, of belonging, of home. She learns that Cale meditates at dawn to control the beast inside, sitting in lotus position on a flat rock by the waterfall, his breathing deep and controlled. She watches him from the cave entrance, sees the way the rising sun turns his skin golden, sees the constant battle for control playing across his features. She learns that his hands are equally skilled with weapons and with the delicate art of healing herbs. He teaches her to identify wolfsbane from monkshood, teaches her which mushrooms heal and which kill, teaches her to read the forest like a book written in green ink and living words. She learns that he reads poetry in languages she's never heard, Greek and Latin, Old Norse, languages that died centuries ago but live on in his memory. He reads to her sometimes in the evenings, his deep voice turning ancient words into music. She learns that he carves small wooden animals when he can't sleep, his large hands capable of incredible delicacy. She finds them throughout the cave of fox, a rabbit, an owl, each one perfect in its detail. She learns that he dreams in images of blood and fire and loss, that he wakes sometimes in the night gasping, his body drenched in sweat, his amber eyes wild until they focus on her and slowly, slowly calm, and he learns her. How she hums while she works, unconscious melodies that seem to come from somewhere deep and ancient. How her gift of sight manifests in paintings that predict things yet to come. She paints on stretched canvases he provides, using pigments she makes from crushed berries and flowers and stones. He watches her paint sometimes, sees the way her eyes go distant, the way her hand moves independently of conscious thought. She paints a storm 3 days before it comes. She paints pack members finding mates. She paints dangers and joys in equal measure. He learns how she carries her trauma like armor, but her hope like a candle that refuses to be extinguished, no matter how hard the wind blows. How she makes him laugh for the first time in decades with her dry observations about his terrible cooking, with her attempts to teach him a folk dance from her village, with her absolute refusal to be impressed by his alpha status. How she makes him want to believe in futures he thought he'd lost the right to. Imagine futures with children and grandchildren, with growing old together, with peace. One afternoon, she's painting by the waterfall when the pack arrives. She's never met them before. Cale has kept her separate, protected, hidden. But today they come, drawn by curiosity and concern for their alpha. There are 12 of them in human form. Syrah, the beta, a woman with silver-streaked hair and eyes like chips of ice. Marcus, the enforcer, built like a mountain with scars that tell stories of battles survived. Young Thomas, barely 18, with his mother's eyes and his father's reckless courage. Arya, who found her mate in a neighboring pack but visits often. And others, each with their own story, their own place in the pack hierarchy. They stop when they see her, forming a loose semicircle, their postures alert but not aggressive. Elena sets down her brush and stands slowly, acutely aware that she's human, vulnerable, alone. Sarah steps forward, her head tilted in assessment. So you're the one who's had our alpha acting strange. Her voice is neither warm nor cold, simply curious. Elena lifts her chin. I don't know what you mean. But yes, I'm staying with Kale. Staying with him, Sarah repeats, and something flickers in her ancient eyes. Or claiming him? Before Elena can answer, Kale appears, moving with inhuman speed. He places himself between Elena and his pack, his posture protective, possessive. Sarah, what brings you here? Concern, the beta says simply. You've been distant, even for you. The pack worries. And then we heard rumors of a human woman. She glances around Kale to where Elena stands. A human woman with gifts? She's under my protection, Kale says, his voice carrying the weight of command. That's all you need to know. Is it? Young Thomas speaks up, his voice eager. Because the pack is saying she might be your mate. Is it true, Alpha? Have you finally found her? Kale's jaw clenches. What I have or haven't found is not pack business. Everything about you is pack business, Sarah says gently. You're our Alpha, Kale. Your happiness, your pain, your future, it affects us all. She looks at Elena with an expression that might be sympathy. If she's your mate, if the bond is forming, you can't hide it forever. The pack has a right to know, to welcome her. Or to reject her, Marcus says bluntly. No offense to the lady, but mixing with humans has never ended well for her kind. Elena steps around Kale, ignoring his growl of warning. I'm not just human. She meets each of their eyes in turn. I'm a seer. A moon witch, though I'm only beginning to understand what that means. I see futures, I speak with the moon. I survived a village trying to burn me alive because they feared what I am. She stands straighter. I'm not asking for your acceptance. I'm asking for a chance to prove I belong here. The pack exchanges glances. Then Sarah smiles, a real smile that transforms her stern face. Well set, little witch. She looks at Kale. She has spine, this one. I like her. The pack will meet her properly, Alpha. Tomorrow, at the gathering. If she truly is your mate, we should know her. Kale wants to argue Elena can see it in every line of his body. But he's also an Alpha, and Alphas put the pack first, always. He nods once, curtly, tomorrow, but she's not on trial. She's my guest, and she'd be treated as such. Of course, Sarah agrees. We're wolves, not monsters. She nods to Elena. Tomorrow, then? Dress comfortably. We run at moonrise. They leave as quickly as they came, melting back into the forest. Kale turns to Elena, his expression conflicted. You didn't have to do that. Challenge them like that. Yes, I did. She touches his face, her fingers gentle against his stubbled jaw. If I'm going to stay, and I need to find my place here. I can't just be the human you're protecting. I need to be part of this world. Tell me about them, Elena says one evening as they sit by the fire, the autumn rain drumming against stone like 1,000 fingers seeking entrance. The ones you lost. I need to understand what you're afraid of. Kale is silent for so long she thinks he won't answer. The fire casts shadows across his face, making him look even more ancient, more burdened. Then he begins, his voice low and careful, each word chosen with precision. Myra, she was human, like you. We had 5 years together before the sickness took her. This was during the plague, the Black Death. I watched her waste away, watched the buboes form on her neck and under her arms, watched her cough blood. I could fight enemies, but not fever, not disease. I held her as she died, and she made me promise not to follow her. So I lived. And I howled for 3 days straight. The pack had to physically restrain me from walking into the sun. For weeks, I was more beast than man, consumed by grief so profound it felt like dying would have been mercy. His voice is hollow, each word carved from old grief, polished smooth by centuries of repetition. Then there was Thomas. Not a lover, but my brother in everything but blood. He died defending our territory from hunters. They use silver weapons, and silver is poison to our kind. It burns, it doesn't heal. He took an arrow meant for me, pushed me out of the way. I still hear his last breath in my nightmares. I still see the way his eyes dimmed. He said, "Live well, brother." And then he was gone. He makes a sound that might be a laugh or it might be a sob. I didn't live well. I barely lived at all. And Arya, he pauses, and when he continues, his voice is softer, sadder. She was Pack, my second. Strong, fierce, brilliant. She found her mate in another territory. A good man, an alpha son. I knew she loved him. I knew she wanted to go. And I let her because I loved her not romantically, but as family. She chose love over duty, and I told her it was okay. But it broke something in me, not because I wanted her to stay against her will, but because it was another loss, another person leaving, another empty space where someone I loved used to be. He turns to look at Elena, and his eyes are swimming with unshed tears. Everyone leaves Elena. Everyone dies. It's the curse of longevity. You live long enough to lose everyone. I've buried more people than I can count. Friends, lovers, pack members, children I helped raise. Each loss carves out a piece of your soul until you're more absence than presence. Until you're just a collection of scars and memories and regrets. Elena moves closer, taking his hand. His skin is rough, scarred, warm, real. You're not cursed, Kale. You're just alive. And being alive means feeling everything, the love and the loss, the joy and the pain. You can't have one without the other. She brings his hand to her lips, kissing each knuckle gently, reverently. Would you trade away the time you had with Myra? The 5 years of love and laughter? He closes his eyes, and tears finally fall, tracking silver paths down his scarred face. Never. Then it was worth it. The pain of losing her was the price of having her. Elena leans her forehead against his. I can't promise I'll live forever. I'm human, and humans are fragile. But I can promise that every day I have, I'll choose you. Every single day. His control shatters. He pulls her into his arms, burying his face in her hair, and she feels him tremble with 300 years of unshed tears. 300 years of accumulated grief finally finding release. They don't speak. They don't need to. The bond between them strengthens, golden threads weaving through the space where their hearts beat in synchrony. She holds him while he breaks, while he lets himself feel everything he's been suppressing for centuries. She holds him until the trembling stops, until his breathing evens, until he lifts his head and looks at her with eyes that are both devastated and grateful. "Thank you," he whispers. "For what?" "For not running. For staying. For seeing all my broken pieces and not flinching." His hand cups her face, his thumb brushing away tears she didn't realize she'd shed. For making me feel again, even though feeling hurts like hell. But peace, as always, is temporary. The hunters come on the night of the new moon, when Kale is weakest. The new moon is a time of vulnerability for werewolves. They can still shift, but it's harder, or painful, less controlled. Kale has warned her about this, explained that on new moon nights, the pack stays close, guards are doubled, and he meditates for hours to maintain control. They're led by a man named Marcus, not the pack Marcus, but another Marcus, a human with cold eyes and colder ambitions. He once worked with Kale to maintain balance between human and wolf territories, back when both sides believed in coexistence. But that was before he saw how much money could be made from supernatural parts, werewolf fangs for trophies, vampire blood for potions, witch bones for talismans. Greed corrupted him slowly, then all at once. Now he hunts supernatural creatures for the highest bidder, and an alpha's head brings a fortune. Elena wakes to the sound of snarling, of metal clashing its fang and claw, of Kale's roar of fury echoing through the cave. She runs outside in her nightclothes, barefoot on cold stone, and sees him surrounded by 12 men with silver weapons. His body is half transformed, the worst state, caught between forms, too human to use full wolf strength, too wolf to use human strategy. Blood streams from a wound in his side where a silver blade has cut deep. The wound isn't healing silver stops that. Her vision blurs, and suddenly she's not seeing the present anymore. She is seeing futures branching out like roads, like rivers, like veins carrying blood. In one future, Kale falls to his knees, and Marcus drives a silver blade through his heart. The forest goes silent and cold. The pack scatters. Elena dies 3 days later, unable to survive the severing of their bond. In another future, Elena runs, and Kale dies trying to protect her retreat. In another, she stays and dies with him. But there's one more future, dim and flickering like a candle in a hurricane, where they both survive. It requires Elena to fully embrace what she is, to stop hiding from her power, to become what the moon has been calling her to be since she was born. No, she whispers, then screams it. No, something inside her breaks open, not breaks as in shattering, but breaks as in breaking through, like a butterfly tearing free of a chrysalis, like a flower forcing its way through concrete. Power floods through her veins, ancient and terrible and beautiful. Her eyes glow with moonlight, even though the moon is dark, as if she's carrying her own moon inside her, as if she is the moon. She raises her hands, and the earth responds. Roots erupt from the ground like serpents, thick as her arm, wrapping around the hunters, holding them fast. Wind whips through the clearing, howling with her voice, disarming them with invisible hands. And in the center of it all, Elena stands transformed, not into a wolf, but into something else entirely. A moon witch, the balance to the alpha's power, the other half of an ancient equation. Kale stares at her in shock, his amber eyes wide, his half-transformed face caught between awe and fear. Elena, run, she gasps, her body shaking with the effort of controlling forces she barely understands. The roots tighten around the struggling hunters. I can't hold this for long. My control ... it's slipping, but Kale doesn't run. He never runs. He shifts fully, letting the transformation take him completely. His wolf form is massive and magnificent, bigger than any natural wolf, black as midnight with silver markings that mirror the scars on his human body. His amber eyes blaze with intelligence and fury. Together they fight, not to kill, but to subdue, to show mercy even to those who showed none. It's a dance they shouldn't know, their first battle together, but the bond guides them. When Elena falters, Kale is there. When Kale is too aggressive, Elena reins him in. They move like they've been fighting together for centuries. When it's over, Marcus and his men flee into the night, battered and terrified, probably convinced they've seen demons. Elena's power cuts off abruptly, like a candle being snuffed, and she collapses. Kale shifts back to human form and catches her before she hits the ground, cradling her against his naked chest. His wound is already starting to heal now that he's fully shifted and back, the body's natural magic overcoming even Silver's poison. Why didn't you tell me? He demands, though his hands are gentle as they check her for injuries. His voice is rough, strained. I didn't know, she sobs, exhausted beyond measure. Every muscle in her body aches, her head pounds. I've always had visions, but I've never been able to do this before. I didn't know I could. The bond awakened your full power. His voice is filled with awe and terror in equal measure. You're not just my mate, Elena. You're my equal, my balance. The prophecy was right. You are either my salvation or my destruction, because you have the power to be both. You could kill me with a thought if you wanted to. You could end me. She looks up at him, her eyes still glowing faintly silver, like distant stars. What if I'm both? What if love is always both, the thing that saves us and the thing that terrifies us most? What if that's the point? That we give someone the power to destroy us and trust them not to? He kisses her then, desperate and tender, tasting like rain and blood and promise. His lips are rough, his kiss nearly bruising, but she meets his intensity with her own. Then I choose to be terrified. I choose to be saved. I choose you, Elena, even if it destroys me. Even if loving you breaks me in ways I can't heal from. Even if you're the death of me, I choose this. I choose you. It won't destroy you, she whispers against his lips. It will remake you. Remake us both. We'll break apart and come back together as something new. Something stronger. Tell me in the comments what part moved you the most. Your words mean the world to us. He carries her back inside and they don't speak for the rest of the night. They simply hold each other, two beings who have finally found their other half, terrified and exhilarated in equal measure. Under the next full moon, they perform the marking ritual. It's ancient, sacred, witnessed by the entire pack who gather in the clearing where they first met. The clearing has been prepared, candles placed in spirals, symbols drawn in salt and ash, flowers woven into garlands. The pack stands in a circle around them, silent and solemn. This is not just a mating, it's a political act, a sacred ceremony, a promise that binds not just two souls, but two kinds of magic. Kale's beta, Sarah, conducts the ceremony. She wears traditional robes, old leather decorated with wolf teeth and moon symbols. Her silver hair is unbound, falling to her waist. Elena wears a dress of white and silver, woven with moonflowers that Sarah and the pack females helped her gather. The flowers only bloom under full moons and only in places where magic runs deep. Kale wears the traditional marks of the Alpha, painted in ash across his chest, symbols that tell his lineage, his victories, his losses. Do you understand what you're accepting? Sarah asks Elena, her voice carrying to every member of the pack. The mark binds you to him for all your lifetimes. You will share his longevity, his strength, his burdens. You will feel his pain and he will feel yours. There is no separation, no escape. If he dies, you will follow. This is the way of the eternal bond. You will never be fully alone again, for better and for worse. Do you accept this? Elena doesn't hesitate. I understand, and I accept. Sarah turns to Kale. And you, Alpha? Do you accept her as mate, as equal, as the other half of your soul? Do you swear to protect her, honor her, love her through all the centuries you may share? Do you give her the power to destroy you and trust her with it? Kale's voice is rough with emotion. I do. Are you certain? Sarah presses because this is her role, to make sure both parties understand. I am damaged, Elena. I am difficult and haunted, and you are mine. Elena interrupts, stepping forward and taking his face in her hands. As I am yours, damaged, difficult, haunted, I accept all of it. I love all of it. I love you, Kale. Every broken, beautiful piece of you, every scar, every nightmare, every moment of pain. I love the man who carves animals when he can't sleep and reads poetry in dead languages. I love the Alpha who puts his pack first even when it hurts. I love the wolf who howls at the moon in loneliness. I love all of you. His amber eyes fill with tears, glowing in the moonlight. I love you, Elena. I didn't think I had the capacity anymore, but you proved me wrong. You made me believe again. You made me want forever again. Then let the bond be sealed, Sarah says, and steps back. Kale's transformation is partial and controlled. His canines elongate, his eyes glow, his wolf rising just enough for what comes next. She pulls Elena close, tilting her head to expose the curve where her neck meets her shoulder. The pack holds its collective breath. This is the moment. If the bond is false, if they're not true mates, the mark won't take. Elena will die and Kale will follow. But when his teeth pierce her skin, gentle despite their sharpness, Elena gasps not in pain but in pleasure and completion. The bond snaps fully into place like a rubber band that's been stretched for too long, finally released. She feels him, his emotions, his love, his fear, his hope, everything flooding into her at once. It's overwhelming and perfect. The mark glows silver in the moonlight, a crescent moon shape with a wolf's paw print inside it. Now she marks him in return. Her moon magic blazes to life, silver light pouring from her hands. She traces a symbol over his heart, a crescent moon intertwined with a wolf's paw, exactly matching the mark he gave her. It burns into his skin, permanent and perfect, glowing with her power. He gasps, his body arching, and she knows he's feeling what she felt, the complete connection, the soul-deep recognition. The pack howls their approval, the sound echoing through the mountains like a song of celebration, a symphony of wild joy. Elena feels it, the connection to all of them, not just Kale. The bond ripples outward, touching each pack member, linking her to them through Kale. She is no longer alone. She is no longer running. She is no longer the girl her village tried to burn. She is home. She is pack. She is mate to the Alpha and Moon Mother to them all. Sarah approaches with a ceremonial cup filled with wine mixed with herbs and moonflower petals. They drink from it together, Kale first, then Elena, their eyes locked. The wine is sweet and bitter at once, tasting of earth and sky, of endings and beginnings. When the cup is empty, Sarah takes Alana's hand and Kale's hand and binds them together with a silver cord. What the moon has joined, let no force separate, Sarah intones. What love has sealed, let no darkness break. As the moon pulls the tide, as the wolf calls to the wild, as magic answers to magic, so are you bound. For all your days, for all your lifetimes, until the stars burn out and the moon falls from the sky. The pack surges forward then, no longer silent, their joy erupting in howls and laughter and celebration. They embrace Elena one by one, welcoming her officially. Young Thomas lifts her off her feet in an exuberant hug. Arya kisses both her cheeks and whispers, "Take care of him. He deserves happiness." Even Marcus, the gruff enforcer, nods with something like respect in his eyes. The celebration lasts until dawn. There's food and drink, music played on drums and flutes, dancing under the full moon. Elena learns pack songs and Kale dances with her, his movements surprisingly graceful for such a large man. He spins her under the moonlight, and she laughs, the sound carrying through the forest like bells. She catches glimpses of his face, the wonder there, the joy, the disbelief that this is real, that she's really his. But even in joy, shadows linger. That night, after the pack has dispersed and they return to the cave, after they've shed their ceremonial clothing and stand before each other in the firelight, Kale traces the mark on her shoulder with reverent fingers. "I'm afraid," he admits quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. "Of what?" She takes his hand, pressing it against her heart where his mark glows faintly beneath her skin. "Of being happy. Every time I've been happy, it's been torn away. What if this is temporary? What if I lose you too? What if tomorrow or next year or in 50 years, something takes you from me, and I have to live with this bond severed, with half my soul ripped away?" Elena turns to face him fully, her hand over his heart where her mark glows like a brand. "Then we will have had this, these moments, this love. Isn't that worth the risk? Isn't one day of this worth a century of loneliness? I don't know if I'm strong enough to survive losing you." His confession is raw, vulnerable, the words of a man who has lost too much already. You are. She kisses him softly, her lips gentle against his, because you're not alone anymore. You have me. You have the pack. You have a future worth fighting for. And I promise you, Kale, I'm not going anywhere. I didn't survive everything I've been through just to give up now. I didn't face my village's hatred, didn't run through the forest bleeding and afraid, didn't discover my power just to leave you. I'm here, I'm staying. He pulls her closer, breathing her in like she's oxygen, and he's been drowning. Swear it, on everything you hold sacred. I swear, on the moon that brought us together, on the bond that ties our souls, on every lifetime we'll share. I swear I will stay. I swear I will fight to stay. I swear that death itself will have to drag me away, and even then I'll fight it. They make love slowly, reverently, sealing their vows with touch and breath and whispered promises. Each kiss is a promise, each caress is a vow. They learn each other's bodies with the same care they've learned each other's souls with, patience, with wonder, with the knowledge that they have time now, all the time in the world. Outside, the moon watches over them through the cave opening, and the forest keeps their secrets. And the world spins on, indifferent to the small miracle of two broken souls finding wholeness in each other. The seasons change. Winter comes with its silver silence, transforming the forest into a crystalline wonderland. Snow falls thick and soft, muffling sound, turning the world into a quiet dream. Elena learns to run with the pack, her moon magic allowing her to keep pace with their wolf forms. The first time she runs with them, she's terrified 20 wolves racing through the forest, their bodies sleek and powerful, their eyes glowing in the darkness. But then Kale's wolf nudges her, gentle despite his size, and she feels the bond thrumming between them. She closes her eyes, reaches for her magic, and suddenly she's running faster than she ever has. Her human form enhanced by moon magic, keeping pace with the wolves. She learns their stories, their struggles, their hopes. She sits with Syra and learns the history of the pack, going back centuries. She learns that Kale's lineage traces to the very first werewolves, that his bloodline is considered sacred. She learns about the great wars between supernatural species, about the treaties and betrayals, about the slow decline of magic in the world as humans expand and ancient places disappear. She becomes not just Kale's mate, but the pack's moon mother, the one they come to for healing and guidance. When young Thomas breaks his leg in a hunting accident, it's Elena who sets the bone and uses her magic to speed the healing, singing old songs her grandmother taught her. When Arya's mate visits and they argue, it's Elena who mediates, helping them see each other's perspectives. When the pack faces decisions about territory disputes or alliances, Kale asks for her counsel, valuing her visions and her outsider's perspective. She paints prophecies that help them avoid dangers, her gift growing stronger with each passing month. She paints a harsh winter and they store extra food. She paints hunters approaching from the east and they reinforce those borders. She paints a pack member's death from illness and they treat his symptoms before they become serious, saving his life. The pack learns to trust her visions, to see them not as certainties but as warnings, futures that can be changed with the right action. Kale learns to trust again, to hope again, to believe that maybe, just maybe, he deserves this happiness. It's not a linear process. There are still nights when he wakes gasping, when the nightmares overwhelm him, when he looks at Elena with such fear in his eyes that she has to spend hours convincing him she's real, she's here, she's not leaving. But slowly, the good days outnumber the bad. Slowly, he begins to relax into their life together. He teaches Elena to fight, to defend herself, to channel her magic with precision. They train together at dawn, their breath steaming in the cold air. He teaches her hand-to-hand combat, how to use her opponent's strength against them, how to find weak points. He teaches her to use weapons, knives, and bows and staffs. But more importantly, he teaches her to use her magic as a weapon. How to call roots from the earth with precision, how to use wind as a blade, how to blind enemies with moonlight. She discovers she loves the way his eyes light up when she masters a new technique, the pride in his voice when he tells the pack about her progress. She loves the way he pushes her, never coddling her despite his protective instincts. He treats her as an equal, as a warrior, and it makes her feel powerful in ways she never has before. They are not without challenges. Marcus, the human hunter, returns 6 months later with an army. 50 men this time, well-armed and well-trained, carrying silver weapons and wolfsbane poison. They come during the day when the pack is weaker, when the wolves prefer to rest. The attack is coordinated, brutal, meant to wipe out the pack entirely. The battle lasts 3 hours and leaves scars on all of them. Elena stands at the heart of it, her magic blazing, protecting pack members who are wounded, calling roots and wind and moonlight, even in daylight. Kale fights in wolf form, a black shadow of death and fury, protecting his pack with everything he has. But they lose pack members. Young Thomas dies with a silver arrow through his heart, smiling even as his life fades because he died protecting his family. 2 others fall veteran wolves who have been with Kale for decades. The grief is overwhelming. The pack gathers that night to honor their dead, to sing their names to the moon, to promise that their deaths will not be forgotten. Elena holds Kale as he breaks, as he blames himself for not protecting them better, for not seeing this coming, for bringing danger to them by claiming her as mate. She holds him and reminds him that young Thomas chose to fight, chose to protect his family, chose to die as a wolf should bravely, defending what mattered most. They burn the bodies according to pack tradition, their ashes scattered in places they loved. Young Thomas's ashes go in the river where he loved to fish. The others' ashes are scattered in the meadow where they proposed to their mates, under the oak tree where they first shifted as children. The pack mourns together, and in mourning, they grow closer. They learn that love doesn't protect you from pain, it just gives you a reason to endure it, and people to endure it with. There are nights when Kale wakes screaming from nightmares of Elena's death, of losing her like he lost the others. She holds him until the tremors pass, whispering reassurances into his hair, reminding him she's here, she's alive, she's not going anywhere. There are days when Elena's visions show her terrible futures, Kale falling in battle, the pack scattered, their children hunted. Kale reminds her that they can change fate, that nothing is written in stone, that her visions are warnings, not certainties. They fight sometimes. They're both strong-willed, both used to being independent, both carrying trauma that manifests in unexpected ways. Elena gets angry when Kale makes decisions without consulting her, when his protective instincts override his respect for her autonomy. Kale gets frustrated when Elena takes risks he considers unnecessary, when she puts herself in danger to help others. They learn to argue productively, to hear each other, to apologize and forgive. They learn the dance of 2 strong-willed souls, learning to move as one. It's not always graceful, but it's real. One spring evening, as they sit on the hillside watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of rose and gold, as the air smells of blooming flowers and new beginnings, Elena takes Kale's hand and places it on her stomach. Her heart is hammering with nervousness and joy. "Feel that?" she whispers. He goes very still, his amber eyes widening. His hand spreads across her abdomen, warm and large. Is that ... a heartbeat? She smiles through tears that spill down her cheeks. 2 heartbeats, actually. Twins. Kale makes a sound that's half laugh, half sob, and drops to his knees before her, pressing his forehead against her belly. His shoulders shake. How? When? About 3 months ago, I think. Moon magic apparently has some unexpected benefits. She runs her fingers through his hair, feeling his tears soak through her dress. Are you happy? Happy doesn't begin to cover it. He looks up at her, his face radiant with joy and terror in equal measure. I'm terrified. I'm ecstatic. Elena, I never thought I would have this. A family, children, a future beyond just surviving, beyond just making it through another century. I never thought I'd get to be a father. Well, you do now. She cups his face, wiping his tears with her thumbs. We do now. And yes, it's scary. Yes, something could go wrong. But something could also go wonderfully right. We could raise children who know both worlds, wolf and magic, wild and wise. We could build something beautiful. We could give them everything we never had: safety, love, acceptance. We already have, he murmurs, kissing her stomach reverently, his lips brushing against the fabric. We already have something beautiful. And now it's going to grow. His hands tremble against her. What if I'm a terrible father? What if I'm too damaged, too broken? What if I pass on my trauma, my fears? Then we'll work through it together. Elena tilts his face up. You're not doing this alone. We're partners, remember? Equal, and you're not broken, Kale. You're healing. Every day you're healing. Our children will see that. They'll learn that it's okay to be wounded, okay to be scared, okay to need help. They'll learn that strength isn't about never falling, it's about always getting back up. If you believe love can survive anything, tap that like button and join our family of dreamers. The pregnancy is unlike anything Elena expected. Moon magic means the gestation is shorter only 7 months instead of 9. It also means she's stronger than human pregnant women, able to run with the pack until the very last weeks. The babies inside her respond to the full moon, becoming active and restless. She paints their futures sometimes, seeing glimpses of what they'll become: strong, brave, compassionate, bridges between worlds. The pack rallies around her. Sarah becomes like a mother, teaching her what to expect with supernatural children, helping her prepare. Arya sews tiny clothes, laughing as she makes wolf-sized diapers. Marcus, the gruff enforcer, carves a cradle from oak, his rough hands capable of surprising delicacy. The entire pack becomes invested in these children, the first born to their alpha in over a century, the first to carry both wolf and witch blood. Kale becomes even more protective, which Elena finds both endearing and infuriating. He hovers constantly, trying to carry her everywhere, panicking if she so much as stumbles. She has to remind him repeatedly that she's not fragile, that moon witches are resilient, that she's carrying wolf cubs and they make her stronger, not weaker. But she also sees the wonder in his eyes when he feels the baby's kick, the way he talks to her stomach in the evenings, telling his children stories in Old Norse, singing them songs from centuries past. The twins are born under a full moon in late summer, the air thick with heat and the sound of cicadas. The labor is intense, but mercifully short, only 4 hours from first contraction to birth. Sarah delivers them with practiced hands, and the entire pack waits outside the cave, their howls of encouragement echoing through the valley. A boy first, coming into the world crying lustily, his tiny fists waving. He's perfect 10 fingers, 10 toes, a shock of dark hair, and when he opens his eyes, they're amber like his father's. Kale holds him with shaking hands, this tiny creature that is his son, his legacy, his future. He makes a sound that might be a laugh or might be a sob, probably both. Then a girl, smaller but fiercer, fighting her way into the world. She doesn't cry immediately. She looks around with alert eyes, taking in the world with a seriousness that makes Sarah laugh. When she finally cries, it's not from fear, but from frustration, as if annoyed at the indignity of birth. Her eyes, when they open, are silver like moonlight, like Elena's magic. Both healthy, Sarah announces, her own eyes wet with tears, both marked with the signs of their heritage. They'll be shifters, strong ones, and Sarah, nods to the girl. She has moon magic. I can feel it. They name them Luca and Luna, names that mean light. Luca, the brave one, the protector. Luna, the wise one, the seer. They are loved with a fierceness that makes the mountains themselves seem to lean in and listen. The pack visits in the days following their birth, each member bringing gifts, blessed stones, protective amulets, promises of loyalty and love. Kale is transformed by fatherhood. The haunted look never fully leaves his eyes. 300 years of loss doesn't disappear overnight, but it's softened by wonder. By the weight of his son sleeping on his chest, Luca's tiny heartbeat against his own. By his daughter's grip on his finger, Luna's silver eyes staring up at him with an intensity that suggests she sees more than an infant should. He sings to them in old languages, lullabies from cultures long dead. He tells them stories of their ancestors, tales of great wolves and powerful witches. He teaches them to howl before they can speak, holding them up to the moon and singing with them. Elena watches him and sees the healing happening in real time. Every smile he gives their children, every laugh they pull from him, every moment of ordinary domestic chaos spit up in dirty diapers and sleepless nights is stitching together the wounds of his past. He is learning that love doesn't always end in loss. Sometimes it ends in growth, and legacy, and hope. The children grow quickly, as supernatural children do. By their first birthday, they're walking, talking in simple sentences, and showing signs of their gifts. Luca shifts for the first time during a full moon, his tiny body becoming an equally tiny wolf cub with amber eyes and clumsy paws. He's so proud of himself that he prances around the cave, tripping over his own feet. Luna's magic manifests differently. She can call moonlight to her hands, can make flowers bloom out of season, can soothe crying babies with a touch. Years pass. The children grow wild and strong, at home in both their forms. They learn magic from their mother Elena, teaches them to paint their visions, to listen to the earth, to respect the moon. They learn pack law from their father Kale, teaches them honor, loyalty, the responsibility that comes with strength. They learn that being different is not a curse but a gift, that their mixed heritage makes them bridges between worlds. They grow up surrounded by love and pack and purpose. When Luca is 7 and Luna is 7, they witness their first pack challenge. A young wolf named Dimitri challenges Kale's authority, believing the alpha has become too soft, too human-influenced. The fight is brutal, but necessary pack law demands it. Kale wins, of course, but he shows mercy, allowing Dimitri to yield rather than killing him. Afterward, he explains to his children that strength isn't about domination, it's about knowing when to show mercy, when to forgive, when to give second chances. The children understand in ways that amaze both parents. They're wise beyond their years, old souls in young bodies. Luna paints futures and tells her parents which ones she likes best, which ones they should work toward. Luca becomes the pack's youngest hunter, learning tracking and strategy from Marcus. They're remarkable children, and the pack knows it. These twins will be legends someday, the first of their kind, the beginning of a new legacy. Kale and Elena grow older, though slowly. Their bond sustains them, slowing aging to a crawl. They acquire new scars and new stories. They face new challenges, political tensions with other territories who fear the power of wolf-witch hybrids. The encroachment of human civilization destroying ancient forests, the struggle to keep old ways alive in a changing world. But they face it together, always together. On their 10th anniversary of being marked, Kale takes Elena back to the clearing where they first met. The children stay with Sarah, giving their parents a rare night alone. The forest has changed. There are fewer old trees, more sounds of human activity in the distance, but the magic remains. The moonlight still falls in silver streams. The earth still hums with power. He pulls her into his arms, and they sway to music only they can hear. The memory of their first meeting, of fear and recognition and destiny. Do you regret it? He asked quietly, his voice carried away by the breeze. Binding herself to someone as difficult as me, someone as broken and haunted. Elena laughs, the sound like bells in the darkness, like joy made audible. Every single day. He pulls back, hurt flashing across his face, and she rises on her toes to kiss him, her lips soft against his. I regret it every day, she continues, her eyes shining with tears and laughter, because every day I realize I could have lived my whole life without knowing this, without knowing you, without understanding what it means to be so completely, terrifyingly in love that you'd burn the world down for someone and rebuild it with your bare hands. So yes, I regret it. I regret all the years I wasted not knowing you existed. I regret every day I lived before you. Tears streamed down his face, catching moonlight. You have a cruel way of saying beautiful things. I learned from the best. She wipes his tears away, her touch gentle. You taught me that love isn't gentle. It's fierce. It's choosing someone every day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. You taught me that vulnerability isn't weakness. It's the bravest thing we can offer each other. You taught me that being seen completely, scars and all, is the only way to truly love. And you taught me that the heart can heal, he whispers, his forehead resting against hers. That joy is worth the risk, that I deserve to be happy, that love isn't always taken away, sometimes it stays, sometimes it grows, sometimes it becomes the very foundation of who you are. You taught me that I can be both wounded and whole, both broken and healing, both afraid and brave. They stand there as the moon rises higher, as their children sleep safely in the pack's care, as the wolves howl their evening song, a sound that now includes their own children's voices. They stand there, marked and mated, scarred and strong, as living proof that love survives, that it triumphs, that it transforms even the most broken among us into something whole. Elena looks up at the moon, the same moon that brought them together a decade ago, and she sees their future written in silver light. More challenges, yes. More losses. Pack members will age and die, dangers will arise, the world will keep changing, but also more love, more laughter, more mornings waking up next to the one soul who sees you completely and chooses you anyway, more evenings watching their children grow, more moments of simple domestic happiness that feel like miracles when you never thought you'd have them. Thank you, she whispers to the moon, to fate, to whatever force brought them together. Kale kisses her temple, his lips lingering. For what? For proving me right, that love is worth everything. That being brave enough to let someone in, to let someone see your darkness and your light, that's what makes us human, or wolf, or witch, or whatever we are. It's what makes us alive. We're just us, Kale says softly, and it sounds like a revelation, like a prayer answered. Broken, healing, hoping, together. Together, Elena echoes, and it sounds like a vow. Like a promise written in moonlight and sealed with forever. Like the only truth that matters. And somewhere in the forest, somewhere in the space between human and wolf, between magic and mortality, between fear and faith, their love story continues. Not perfect, not easy, but real, true, enduring. Written not in flowery words, but in the everyday acts of choosing each other, in bandaging wounds and sharing fears, in raising children and burying pack members, and facing the world side by side, marked and mated, bound by something deeper than fate, because some bonds are not meant to be broken. Some marks are eternal. Some loves are worth every scar, every tear, every moment of doubt. Some loves look fear in the face and say, I choose this anyway. Some loves take broken pieces and forge them into something new and beautiful and strong. Some loves are written in the stars and marked under the moonlight, and no force in heaven or earth can tear them apart. This is their story. This is their truth. This is what happens when two wounded souls find each other in darkness and decide to be each other's light. This is what it means to love fiercely, to heal slowly, to hope endlessly, to believe that despite all evidence to the contrary, despite loss and pain and fear, love wins. Love always wins, not because it's easy, not because it doesn't hurt, not because there's a guarantee of forever, but because choosing love, choosing to be vulnerable, choosing to let someone in despite the risk, that is the bravest thing we can do. That is the most human thing we can do. That is what makes life worth living. Under the moonlight, under the stars, under the weight of all our broken pieces becoming whole, love wins. And this truth echoes through the forest, through the mountains, through the very earth itself. The wolves hear it and sing it in their howls. The moon sees it and blesses it with silver light. The wind carries it across valleys and over rivers, a message for all who are lost, all who are broken, all who are afraid. You are not alone. There is someone out there who will see your scars and call them beautiful, someone who will hear your story and stay, someone who will mark your soul with moonlight and make you believe in magic again, someone who will prove that love, real love, is worth every risk. Be brave enough to let them in. Be brave enough to stay when it gets hard. Be brave enough to believe that your story, like Kale and Elena's, is still being written and the best chapters are yet to come. Because this is not the end. It's never the end. It's just the beginning of something beautiful, something true, something worth fighting for. Forever, marked under the moonlight. Forever, choosing love despite the fear. Forever, proving that broken things can heal, that wounded hearts can love again, that even after centuries of loss, hope can bloom like moonflowers in the darkness. This is the promise. This is the truth. This is what waits for all of us if we're brave enough to reach for it. Love. Real, fierce, transformative love. The kind that marks your soul and changes everything. The kind that makes you believe in forever. The kind that wins, always, in the end.